3 cards brand new from A Lawless Time, cards that have never been seen before in this channel's first ever exclusive card reveals. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dinozor Gaming, where we learn to be a better player. Today we have a very special episode for you guys because we are showcasing you guys 3 cards brand new from A Lawless Time, cards that have never been seen before in this channel's first ever exclusive card reveals. A large thank you to FFG for being generous and giving us these cards, and now I get to show them to you guys in whatever way I wish, and that is going to be incorporated into our new series that we started not too long ago, Find the Play. That's right, we're going to be putting these cards in brand new situations using as many A Lawless Time cards as we can, and you need to find a way to either survive or win the game using these cards. If you're not interested in that whatsoever, it's okay. Feel free to wait for the end of the video where we will just show you these cards anyways. And we're going to start this off with our first card that works really well with the new leader that was revealed yesterday, Enfys Nest, because it has an on attack, and it's going to be Cloud Rider Veteran, a 2-cost aggression heroism card, 1/4 Underworld that says on attack, deal 2 damage to a base. This is a very interesting unit because as a 2-cost, it's kind of like a 3/4 or a 1/4 with Raid 2, but only when you're hitting a base. And while normally a Raid 2 would have been preferred, this being on attack means that you get to manipulate it with abilities like Enfys Nest. So there are definitely some situations where an ability like this could be extremely powerful, triggering that leader's ability. For example, make this a 2-cost 5/4, which is an absurd amount of damage for a 2-drop. Enough about that. Let's go ahead and check out our first scenario and see if you can find a way to win the game using Cloud Rider Veteran. So here's our first situation. Don't worry, I know that there's a lot going on. We'll walk you through this real quick, and then we'll give you some time to figure out a solution. I'll let you know when to pause it if you actually want to pause and find it out yourself before we give you what I deem to be an appropriate solution. So you are playing off and against a Director Krennic who doesn't have any resources left, and they have a Director Krennic unit in play with 7 damage on it that has been already exhausted. They still have a Deceptive Shade in play and 21 damage on their base, so they're not too close to dying, whereas you, on the other hand, are at 24 damage. While not really in danger from dying from that shade, it's not looking too hot. That said, you still have all of your resources open and a couple of exhausted units to work with. Now at this point, I invite you to feel free to pause this and see if you can find a solution to this, and in a couple of seconds, we'll walk you through what I found as a very creative way to win the game. All right, so the first thing we need to do is get rid of that Deceptive Shade, right? We need a way to take that away from our opponent, either defeat it or steal it, and in this case, we are going to steal it. And since we're winning this game, we don't care what we give our opponent, so let's give him our highest cost unit, which in this case is going to be Synta. We're doing this using the new Double Cross event that trades units and then gives credit tokens based on the difference of resources. So in this case, we're going to give them Synta. We're going to take the Shade, and that gives us 4 extra tokens to work with, 4 extra credits to work with, so now we have 4 resources to use. So at this point, we get to use the Shade, which says when defeated, the next unit you play this phase gains Ambush. So why don't we go ahead and trade that Shade into the Krennic, dealing a couple more damage. It's not defeated just yet, and sure, they get to trigger Krennic, but we don't care. We're going to win, right? And so at this point, what do? We get to use 2 of those credits and play that brand new Cloud Rider Veteran. That Cloud Rider will come in and it will ambush Krennic, dealing that last point of damage remaining. That's very useful because we have a Cassian Andor in play that says when a friendly unit's attack ends, if the defending unit was defeated, deal 2 damage to the opponent's base. So that's 2 damage dealt from Cassian Andor, and then the on attack from Cloud Rider Veteran triggers, which you can then double up using the 2 leftover credit tokens with Enfys Nest ability. So now you get to deal 2 from the on attack, another 2 from Enfys Nest, and then the last 2 from Cassian Andor, dealing 6 damage and taking your opponent up to 27, winning the game without even bothering to get through that Sentinel. Very creative use, really showcasing the power of this new Cloud Rider Veteran. So here's the card for anyone who cares, and we're going to jump into our second card now. And this second card is a very strong card, a card that I think is going to be a borderline meta staple, and that is going to be Sullustan Sapper, or Sullustan Sapper, whatever you want to call it. Depends how immigrant you are, right? So this is a 3-cost aggression cunning 4/2 Underworld, Ambush, Overwhelm. These are some incredibly powerful keywords together and in a color pairing that loves these keywords, especially Ambush. We've used so many 4-power ambushes in the past, and most of them cost 4 or more. Think about something like Forlom, right? Or even Modded Cohort that's been seeing some play here. Well, this gets to do the same thing for 3, and as if that's not enough, you also get to Overwhelm. This is kind of like a smaller Maul, and Maul was everywhere. I honestly believe that this is one of the more powerful cards that we've seen, and it is in a color pairing that really appreciates this. Now, that said, let's go ahead and jump into the scenario and see if you can find the solution for how to win this game using, hopefully, the Sullustan Sapper. Not necessarily. This one puzzle has a lot of different solutions. It really opens the way for creativity, and so I'd love to see what you can find. Quickly, your opponent has a spy token that's ready. You're at 25, so if that hits, you lose. So you need to find a way to survive or maybe even win if possible. So I invite you to pause here if you want, and we'll get to the solution in a couple of seconds. So you need to somehow deal 7 damage if you want to win, or maybe clear your opponent's board if you don't want to lose. Both of them are okay. You are playing against a blue-green villainy. Typically, they don't have a way to end the game very easily from their hand. So here's what I recommend as a potential solution. You do have a lot of resources available. You have 7 resources and 4 credits, while your opponent is once again completely tapped out. And 4 credits seems like a lot, but hey, that's something Jabba the Hutt is pretty good at. So the first thing we need to do, obviously, is take care of that spy. So we're going to play that new sapper, go ahead and ambush into it, defeating it, and taking our opponent down base up to 22 damage. Pretty simple, but now there's still a shielded unit with 2 attack that if we don't deal with it, our opponent is able to kill us with. So a very creative solution to this is going to be to use the brand new You Hold This. So we are going to give them Urk, and we are going to be dealing 4 damage to Lat's Razzie to remove that shield. And now with that shield gone, that is vulnerable. But we don't have anything left in our hand that can kill that. Lucky for us, we are playing Jabba the Hutt. So we get to use Jabba the Hutt's ability, and because the Sapper is Underworld, we are going to take that back to our hand. Voila. Thank you for the amazing animations. And now with that, the world is our oyster. We get to play that Sapper back and kill the last Razzie if we want. We can even maybe kill Urk if we want. I don't recommend that. So we're going to go ahead and play the Sapper, ambush into the last Razzie. We do lose the Sapper, but that's 3 overwhelm damage that we just did, taking their base to 25. And now we have 4 credits left open. What do we do with 4 credits? We get to play the brand new Shadow of Stygian Prime, attach that to the Urk that we so generously gave to our opponent, and at the start of the regroup phase, that's going to deal 2 damage to their own base, taking it up to 27 and giving us the win. Okay. And here is the card if anybody wants it. Right before we move on to our third reveal. And now, for our final reveal of the week. Have you ever wanted to just blow up your own unit and take everything down with it? Well, have I got the solution for you? We have Thermal Detonator. That's right, a 3-cost aggression upgrade which gives +1/+1, can attach to a non-vehicle unit, and says, the attached unit gains when defeated. If this unit was ready, deal 2 damage to each enemy ground unit. This is a very interesting card. Being able to put something on a unit that can blow up when it's defeated, kind of putting the board state into a stalemate. Sometimes your opponent won't want to attack into this. And so this is going to be mostly good on a Sentinel that your opponent doesn't want to attack into, or maybe you get to put this on a unit that you are able to defeat yourself. Maybe you're using that new Krennic leader, or some new form of exploit, or hey, you can just use exploit in Eternal formats, because why not? So let's go ahead and jump into our completely plausible situation, something that I don't know about you, I deal with clearly on the weekly, and that is going to be a Slime War with a ton of spy tokens. Let's remove this beautiful face for a second here. That's right, there are 8 readied spy tokens, and it's looking pretty dire for you. Your opponent is at 18 on their base with a ton of spy tokens ready to attack, and you only have 2 health left on Chirrut, 2 health left on the base. So you need to find a way to clear out this board and survive, or hey, maybe find the win. And luckily for you though, you still have all of your resources available, all 8 of them, and you do have a Cinta cause available to plot out if you so wish. So at this point, I will invite you guys to pause it if you wish, and then in a couple of seconds, we'll go through the solution. All right, let's do it. And so for the solution here, obviously we cannot let our Sentinel go down. If that Chirrut dies, well, you're one more swing from a spy token and we lose the game. So we need to find a way to either prevent our opponent from attacking or buff it up. Luckily, we have this new event here to work with. Thermal Detonator goes onto the Chirrut, buffing it up to 3 health. Now at this point, a single spy token attacking into it will not defeat it, and your opponent likely won't want to attack into it. Maybe they'll just pass and hope that you swing first. But if you don't, if they just claim the initiative, or if they just attack into it, it doesn't really matter. The action comes back to you. You're not really dead just yet. So with our next action, we're going to go ahead and plop down that HK-47 because of his ability that says when an enemy unit is defeated, you get to deal 1 damage to your opponent's base. Now at this point, if you blow up your opponent's board, you are dealing 1 damage to their base for each one of those spy tokens. And that means that they're going to be taking 8 damage to their base if they blow up your Chirrut. They're probably not going to want to do that, and realistically, your opponent is going to claim and hope that you don't defeat that Black Sun Patroller, and they can maybe swing with their first action next turn. But we have better plans for them here, because we are going to deploy Darth Vader and swing on something. We can maybe kill off a couple of spy tokens if we wish. Vader does let you discard any number of cards from your hand to deal damage to a unit or base, depending on how many cards you discarded. So what do? Well, I recommend hitting base here, because you get to hit with his hefty 6/8 body here, dealing 6 damage, and you have 3 cards to discard. But if you discard them and hit base, you're only putting your opponent's base up to 27, and at that point, even with Chirrut swinging for 4, it's not going to be enough to defeat them. Even with That's a Rock, even if you find a way to deal 1 more damage, it's just not enough. So the solution here is going to be to discard the 3 cards indeed, and instead of hitting your opponent's base or one of their units, you are going to target your own Chirrut Imwe. That's right, you're going to blow up your Sentinel, triggering the Thermal Detonator, which will kill off all the spy tokens, dealing 8 damage to your opponent's base. Now 8 from that HK because of each spy token, and then Darth Vader makes 14 damage, taking your opponent to 32. Just barely not enough. Luckily for us, though, one of the cards that we're discarding is That's a Rock. So you get to discard that and hit a unit for 1 damage. That's a Rock says when this event is discarded from your hand, you get to deal 1 damage to a unit. Apologies for those who didn't know. And so you get to go ahead and plop that onto the only unit that your opponent has left, their Black Sun Patroller. And when that is defeated, HK triggers once again, dealing 1 more point of damage. So we have 6 from Vader, 8 from the spies, 1 from the Black Sun Patroller, making exactly 33, taking the win in this borderline unwinnable scenario that you will obviously encounter on the daily. Thank you so much. Now with that, let's take a quick look at Thermal Detonator. Actually, no, let's take a look at all of the cards here. Thank you once again, FFG, for giving us these reveals. I think these are very cool cards. Some of them will absolutely be relevant in Premiere. Some of them will be absolutely amazing in Limited. And honestly, cards like this are really getting me excited for A Lawless Time. I think these reveals plus rotation is shaping A Lawless Time to be one of the best sets, if not the best set that we have ever seen in Star Wars Unlimited. And the hype is real. Just a couple of weeks left now for A Lawless Time, releasing on March 13th. So pre-releases at the beginning of March. Get ready, folks. I know I cannot wait. And once again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this, leave a comment, a like, a subscribe. And if you like this kind of series, we will have another episode of Find the Play with not necessarily using brand new revealed cards, but focusing on A Lawless Time coming up in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.